What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex Yu, and you're watching the Marvel edition of the Ragin Nation show. This is just Webster's. We're talking about all things that matter to me in the world of Marvel films. This is episode number 126. In this episode, we are going to talk a little bit about Spider-Man Homecoming and also the X-Men universe and the future of the X-Men universe from 20th Century Fox. So we're first going to start off by talking about Spider-Man Homecoming. And Kevin Feige was talking to the Toronto Sun, and he mentioned the role of Michael Keaton. If you don't already know, Michael Keaton has been cast as a character in Spider-Man Homecoming. And Kevin Feige actually confirmed that Michael Keaton will be playing Vulture. He just casually mentioned it as he was talking about villains. He was talking about Mads Mikkelsen as Caecilius and Doctor Strange, Josh Brolin as Thanos, and he just casually mentioned Michael Keaton as the Vulture. Now that's pretty exciting because it'll be Michael Keaton's return to the comic book world since Batman and Batman Returns from Tim Burton. Really, really exciting stuff. I'm happy to see Michael Keaton back. I'm also excited to see Vulture after he was teased in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. At least his wings are. Now, I know and I'm aware that the Sony Spider-Man universe is completely different from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I'm at least excited that something that we saw at the end of The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is finally being realized in this Spider-Man Homecoming solo film. So that's really, really awesome. Now, Tom Holland was talking to The Hollywood Reporter. Of course, Tom Holland plays the title character, Peter Parker, in Spider-Man. And the big question is, how many films is he contracted for? How many films is he obligated to play to reprise his role as Spider-Man? 6. 6 films. Let's read his exact quote from this article from The Hollywood Reporter. He says, "I do know I have 3 Spider-Man movies and 3 solo movies contracted." What does that even mean? He said 3 and 3. 3 Spider-Man movies and 3 solo movies. Aren't they the same thing? But anyways, 6 films. He's appeared as Spider-Man in Civil War. He's going to appear in Spider-Man Homecoming. So that's 4 out of the 6. But there's 4 more. Perhaps in Infinity War, or maybe the Avengers film after Infinity War, and 2 more Spider-Man sequels, or maybe he's just going to appear as a supporting role in other Marvel Cinematic Universe films. That could totally happen. But even though he's contracted for 6 films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Spider-Man, doesn't necessarily mean he's going to actually be in 6 films. I mean, they could just end it, and then that would be the end of his contract, should they decide that it's over, or maybe Sony wants to take back the character or whatever. Of course, that might be a little bit of a breach of contract, but the fact is that he's contracted for 6, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to see him 4 more times after Spider-Man Homecoming. It really just depends on if they have more movies for him. And if they do, he's going to have to make them. But anyways, moving on, let's talk about 20th Century Fox's X-Men universe. X-Men Apocalypse is now on Blu-ray, and I gotta be completely honest with you, it was an okay film. Not as great as X-Men Days of Future Past. And of course, we got Logan coming out in March. Now what's going to happen next? Well, there's not a whole lot of filming of anything going on right now. Deadpool 2 is supposed to start filming January, February, but they're running into some bumps. For example, they lost Tim Miller, the director. They also lost the composer. The composer, Junkie XL, actually left following the departure of Tim Miller. Now there are directors' names being thrown around. A fandom has suggested Edgar Wright, Matthew Vaughn, but the rumors state that David Leitch, who's the director for John Wick and John Wick 2, could potentially be a director for Deadpool 2. I love the idea of David Leitch directing Deadpool 2. That's awesome. He did great with John Wick, and I'm sure he's going to do great with John Wick 2. But he's only in negotiations. Now, another director who's rumored to be one of the frontrunners for directing Deadpool is Drew Goddard. Drew Goddard directed Cabin in the Woods, which I actually really, really enjoyed. So I'm happy with either director, but I would rather see David Leitch, as he has a really, really great understanding, or a great visual understanding of action. Now, Deadpool 2 is not the only film that's in the news. Deadpool 3. Now, it looks like if they can get Deadpool 2 off the ground, and with Deadpool 1 being such a huge success, they definitely want to turn the Deadpool franchise into a trilogy and keep it going. It's a big franchise, as Ryan Reynolds has proven. And so Deadpool 3 is definitely going to be in the works. And the plan is Deadpool 2 will introduce Domino and Cable, and then Deadpool 3 will be the creation of X-Force. We'll introduce X-Force, kind of like how they created the Avengers, or kind of how Disney created the Avengers. They introduce all the characters slowly, and suddenly they become the Avengers. So this is kind of like, I guess 20th Century Fox's answer to the Avengers, but like an R-rated style. First introducing Deadpool, then introducing Domino and Cable, and then introducing the rest of the cast, or rest of the characters, which eventually form X-Force. And then X-Force is going to have its standalone movie, which suggests that X-Force movie will be delayed, considering they got to go through Deadpool 2 and then Deadpool 3 before they get to X-Force. But that's not all. That's not all that's going on with 20th Century Fox. 20th Century Fox. Well, another thing that another solo film that's currently in a state of limbo right now is Gambit. Nothing's going on with Gambit. Doug Liman left. Rupert Wyatt, obviously he's gone. He was gone a long time ago. They don't have a director. It's just put on hold. Simon Kinberg did say that, you know, it will happen. We're just working on the scripts, but, you know, how much can they really do at this point? I mean, Simon Kinberg must be so busy. After all, he is working on a script for another X-Men film. Another X-Men film is in the works. It's written with Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique, Michael Fassbender as Magneto, and James McAvoy as Professor X in mind. Those three characters are in mind for this new X-Men story, and it's going to be without Bryan Singer. It's going to be written with or without Bryan Singer on board. If he's back on board, great, but if he isn't, that's totally fine, because apparently that is still the plan, and that is to continue the X-Men story with those three main actors. So that's the plan right now. Another plan that they're going with is, of course, the New Mutants film. Josh Boone is the writer-director. That's still happening, and it's possible that they can film in as early as next spring. Hopefully that happens, because I want to see some traction on these films, because nothing is being filmed right now. Everything is in pre-production. Logan is about to come out in March, and they better get their act together, because, you know, they got to keep this franchise going, because, you know, if there's going to be so much of these bumps along the way and all these obstacles, then, you know, fans are very demanding. They start losing interest when they start seeing and reading things like this. So we got to get the ball rolling. Hopefully they get their act together. 20th Century Fox's X-Men franchise is definitely a franchise that I really, really care about. I'm, of course, more excited about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but still, there are a lot of great characters in the X-Men universe, and Deadpool is, of course, one of them. And I'd love to see that X-Force film in an R-rated universe. So very, very exciting stuff, and I'm super, super excited about it. X-Men has a lot of story arcs, and I'd like to ask you the question, and that is, what kind of story arc that you know of from the comics would you like to see in this new X-Men film that Simon Kinberg is currently working on? What would you like to see? And another thing is, who do you think should direct Deadpool 2? Let me know in the comment section below. David Leitch definitely seems to be a very, very good choice, and I'm super excited for that if it really, really happens. Anyways, that's all I gotta say in this episode. As always, if you enjoyed this episode and you want to see more, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation. Also follow me on Twitter, Ragin Nation. My name's Alex. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace. Backdrop for some very, very unique style of action. Now, what they introduced to the story was